was actually going to try to do this paddling out on a creek or a lake or something with a little bit better scenery, but my work schedule and the weather and different things like that just didn't work out for it. So I'm just going to do one of these sit here in front of the camera things and try to finish this up. My last day at the pizza place was last Saturday. Those of you that have followed my videos know that I'm going to take off down to Tampa, Florida on Tampa Bay and spend 3 months down there just doing some fishing and hanging out and trying to do a little R&R. So I hope to get some good footage of that. Now I'm going to be leaving here the 31st, I guess, and get down there the 1st. I want to stay the night somewhere. The future weather projections don't look very good for my solar, so I'll probably book a campground somewhere between here and there so that I don't lose what I have in my refrigerator and stuff like that, because we're supposed to really have some rainy weather coming and cloudy skies, so that's not real good for the solar. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. I made up some note cards, so I hope I can fly through this fairly quickly. But you saw in part 1 of this how many chores there are to do and most of the work you have to do, and you stay pretty busy in there. It's not hard work, and some people, you know, it's hard for them to just breathe, but to me it's not hard work. I've laid brick and stone and concrete block and poured concrete before, so I know what work is, and this is just not that hard to do. There's a difference between staying busy and working really hard, and this is staying busy, and you'll be tired at the end of the day. If you put in an 8-hour day doing this, you'll be tired. But it's not real hard to do. It's not difficult, and it doesn't take rocket science. I showed aspects of the day shift, and one person asked me if on the night shift, if the prep work and all that kind of stuff would be less, and it is. You don't generally make dough at night or cut onions or bell peppers or any of that kind of stuff, but you do on the night shift in between runs. You're still going to be required, if you have some extra time, to fold boxes, and you're still going to have dishes to do. And when I'm talking about dishes, you have these big dough trays, we call them, where you put the rolled dough on, and they're plastic containers that hold the vegetables and all the meats and everything else on the make line. So as those empty out, they have to be washed and sanitized. And also the late drivers and closing driver, those are some of the little titles given to the different shifts. You're required to make sure everything is cleaned and your area is mopped, trash is taken out, and all that. So, I mean, there's plenty to do at night, even though it's a little bit different than during the day. There's still plenty to do. But anyway, let me get into this. To do this job, first thing you're going to need to make sure you have a good driver's license. If you've had any DUIs and stuff like that, you won't be able to drive for, I'm not sure, it's 5 or 7 years. You can't deliver pizza if you have a DUI on your record. I mean, it's pretty stiff. So make sure you have a good, clean driver's license, and you're also going to need insurance. And I'll talk about this just a little bit. Most people don't say anything to their insurance companies about the fact that they're using their car for work, and the insurance companies are interested in that. I was afraid that if I got in an accident or something, and the insurance company knew I was delivering pizza, that maybe there would be some kind of issues there. So I finally, and this was after about 3 years of doing it, I went in and fessed up to my insurance company that I was delivering pizza, and my liability insurance, which at that point was $150 every 6 months, automatically went to $250 every 6 months. But I felt more confident that I was going to be covered in case I got in a wreck. So I went ahead and fessed up to it, and whether I would recommend you do that or not, that's going to have to be something, that would be something of your own choice. I believe, now this might be different from state to state, I believe here in Alabama you have to be 19 to do that. As old as I am, it was nothing that I really checked into, but I think I've heard that. So I'm going to say that this would be a good job if you're a young person, college kid trying to pick up some extra mad money. We have a lot of those that work. This would be a good job for you. I believe it'd also be a good job for somebody like me that's, I guess you'd call me semi-retired since I work so much, but a retired person or semi-retired person, this is a good way to pick up some money. And they're flexible hours. Most of these places try to work within your school schedule. And also, if you're a retired type person, they're going to understand that you don't want to work that many hours a week. So if all you wanted was 20, then usually they'll try to accommodate you with that. Now, this job pays enough money, and I'm going to get into pay here in just a minute. But this job pays enough money that a person that's in that minimum wage sort of area, that $7.25 to $9.25 area, this job pays better than that. So I'm just saying this because if you're a person that's been working in some retail store as a stocking clerk or something where they're paying minimum wage, as long as you had a decent car and a driver's license and insurance and stuff, you can make quite a bit more money doing this than you can at one of those typical minimum wage jobs. And that, along with the flexible hours, is the reason I do it. And when I talk about flexible hours, I mean flexible. I've taken off quite a few times. In 2016, I took off for a month and just went on a vacation trip. And of course, this in the past 2017, those of you that follow my channel know that I took off for a little over 6 months and went up to Iowa and worked at an amusement park. And coming back home, I started getting texts about coming back to work when I was in Nashville, Tennessee, long before I even got to Birmingham. So these places are mostly always short on help and need people to drive. They also need insiders, but the insiders just, quite frankly, just don't make the money that the delivery drivers do. So that wouldn't be anything that I would be interested in. Something else, there are different neighborhoods, and just to be upfront and honest again, there's a Marco's Pizza closer to where I'm parked right now than the one where I work. But I'm going to work in a neighborhood which is at least good middle class to upper middle class. My first delivery job was in an area where there were a lot of government subsidized kind of apartments and stuff like that, and I want to tell you, it's you go out a lot and don't get any tips or make any money, and so I just won't do that anymore. Whatever town you live in, drive around in your town, look for some place that delivers food that's in a halfway decent or better neighborhood, and I know I'm going to get some political incorrectness going on here, but I'm just telling you the facts. There are neighborhoods that pay better than other neighborhoods, so that's something you want to check out. And it's advisable that you have an economy car. Now, I'll pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a car and drive it for a few years. I've never been a person that had that ego issue about new cars and all that. Now, I wouldn't want to take a new car and go out and run it to death out there, running around delivering any kind of food, pizzas or sandwiches or whatever it was. But if that's what you want to do, then you can do that. Part of the pay is a little bit of reimbursement for using your vehicle, and the money you get to use your vehicle doesn't cover maintenance on it. And if you're buying a new car, it's probably not going to cover a payment. But most places get between $1 and $1.25, or give you between $1 and $1.25 each time you go out. Now, most of the places I've been on, we call them runs. When something comes up on the computer screen, we call that a run. That's what you check out on, is what we call a run. So each time, each order you take, you're going to get $1 or $1.25. Most of these places charge a delivery charge of $2.50. I've heard of one place that just went to $3. So the company keeps the rest of that money to cover their extra insurance and a little bit of what they pay you. Now, when you go out on one of these runs, in a lot of places your pay changes. Like where I'm working right now, it goes, while we're inside, we get $7.25 an hour. When we're out on the road on a run, then we're getting $5.25 an hour. Some places will figure things up in a way that sort of averages that out. Like you might be paid straight through $6.50 an hour, or the first job I ever had paid us straight through $7 an hour. But like I said, that was a real poor tipping area. So the hourly rate isn't the issue you're looking at. It's the amount of tip money you can make that is really going to drive your income. But, you have to make those choices on your own. Economy car, or what neighborhood you work in. Maybe you don't want to drive somewhere else, whatever. But anyway, let's get on with the pay here. I just took a random 4-week period so that it would be a month, 4 consecutive weeks. We get paid every 2 weeks. And the computer keeps up with whether you're inside at the moment or whether you're out on the road making a delivery. So when you get your check stub, it's going to be broken down into inside hours and on the road hours. And usually, I figured it out a few times. I don't figure it out every time. But the tips you make go on this check as income, and they are taxed in addition to the hourly rate that you're making. So you'll understand that here. In that 4-week period, I got 2 checks, one for $282 and one for $290. Now, I was working at 70 to 75 or 76 hours every 2 weeks. I wasn't quite getting to 40, but sometimes it was pushing it pretty close. Now, what I got in tips and gas, now this is daily pay. You get your gas money, which where I work is $1 per run, and you get your tip money that day. So in addition to these 2 checks, I got in tips and gas on this daily basis. I got $1,147 in that 4-week period. So that's a total take home in 4 weeks of $1,719. Now I subtracted, and I never used this much, and this is working a 4-day week. I subtracted $30. I subtracted a total of $120 out of there for gas, and I'm sitting here thinking that I should have made that a little more. But anyway, that came up with a $15.99 net, and I divided this by 140 hours, which gave me a take home of $11.42. Now I don't know exactly how accurate that math is or anything. Now, that's not really counting the extra amount of money you're going to have to spend in tires and on maintenance and all that. I mean, that, you know, that could be a small amount if you have a good vehicle. It could be a large amount if you don't have such a good vehicle. But anyway, I believe that this is just a true example of how much more you can make doing this than working some minimum wage job somewhere. Now, you might not want, I know you don't want to raise a family and try to send 2 kids through college on this kind of money. It just won't work. But if you're retired and get some kind of Social Security check, or if you're a student that just needs some mad money, this is really a good job for you. But it's also a good job for somebody that just wants full-time work, because I could actually have made more money than this. But when the nighttime drivers start to come in, I want to go home. I'm done. I'm sure there were times I could have stayed later and worked more hours and made more tips and stuff like that, but I just really didn't want to. I found at my age that after a good 6 hours of work, I'm starting to slow down a little bit, more than I used to. I still give it a hard 6 hours, and if I'm there 8 hours, I'll give it a hard 8 hours. But like I say, I have a little bit of a check coming in, so I didn't need to push that in any way. But I know some people that do this full time, and it's their main job. And if you get out there and hustle it and stuff, you can do this job full time and make a living. And when I'm saying that, you can drive a decent car and live in a decent apartment and have cable and internet, you know, which are the basics of what people need these days to survive. I'm going to close this up because I didn't want to get too long-winded about it, and I did anyway. But anyway, my next videos, I'm going to get some footage of taking off on the trip down to Tampa, and I hope to do a lot of fishing and sightseeing and stuff around there, and get some good footage for you folks. And so to everyone, I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a really great New Year. And if you have any questions about what I just said, because I'm sure I left something out, I just didn't want to sit here and talk too long about it. But anyway, if you have any questions or anything, put them down there, and I'm always more than happy to answer questions. I love you asking questions, and I love answering them, so let's get it done. Anyway, that's it for today, and I'll see you next time, hopefully on the way to Tampa, and we'll end up with some good sunshine that I can share with all of you. Goodbye.